Thank you everyone for coming to this presentation about the new NFT-centered DeFi, or how the new decentralized finance would be centered around NFTs. So I'm going to talk about NFT renting, borrowing, the state of the art, the technical challenges, and how we do it today at Jaypigs. So as a crypto community, if we agree on one thing, is that we want to have an open financial system. And for that to happen, we would like for most investable assets to be tokenized on-chain. So today, crypto market cap is about 1 trillion, give or take, a little bit less, a little bit more sometimes. Stock market market cap is about 69 trillion. It's actually 70 trillion, but 69 is a funny number. The bond market today is $128 trillion, and which gives us a full set of all investable assets of about $230 trillion, including the real estate and other investable assets. And so if we want to tokenize all this on chain, certainly today we don't have the infrastructure for that, and also there are a lot of technological challenges with the renting assets and all of that we need to tackle on chain. And today we have two main standards that we use to tokenize assets on chain. So ERC20s, we tokenize stablecoins, we tokenize fractionalized art, maybe someday fractionalized real estate, commodities already. We have PAXG, for example, stocks. And we have this other thing called non-fungible tokens, right? ERC 721. We're already tokenized a lot of art pieces, houses, maybe someday, cars, sovereign bonds, arguably could be ERC20, but yeah. So we see that there's a lot of need for infrastructure of renting and borrowing of these non-fungible tokens if we want to tokenize a lot more investable assets on chain. And so where are we today, right? Like, where is the state of the art of this? This is much needed. Where we are, I think the reason we don't hear a lot about like a lot of this DeFi built on NFTs is because we still have a lot of technical challenges to do it in a trustless manner. So code is low, but how do we do it, right? There's the liquidations challenge for loans against NFTs. How do you manage liquidations in a trustless and permissionless manner? There's a renting challenge with the NFT standard. So there's an owner for the ERC 721 standard, but how do you manage that if you rent the NFT, the person gives you back the NFT and all that thing? And then there's a pricing challenge for liquidating. So even if we manage to liquidate ERC 721s on chain, where do you get the pricing from? How do you manage rarities, for example, in NFT collections? How do you manage pricing houses and all these things? And do we even need those types of setups, and how to think about that? So these are the main challenges today. Generally, there are a few solutions I'll talk about, but they're far from perfect, and we still need to do a lot of work on this. And so I talk about these houses and all of that, and some people argue, well, there's no infrastructure for renting and borrowing against NFTs today on chain because there's no use case, right? Like, there isn't this big use case you're talking about, but there is actually. Today there is gaming, where we need a general renting market for gaming. To allow these in-game assets to move from one game to another, for new people to be onboarded and to rent these assets. There is a liquidity problem, right? Like, so if you have a big bag of these NFTs, you wanna take a loan against them, you need liquidity to do other things on chain, and there are some arbitrage opportunities there. There's a utility problem where there are so many arbitrage opportunities. If you have some NFT that gives you some lower fees, for example, in some decentralized exchange or some other infrastructure, this is incredibly important. And if we manage to get this renting and borrowing use case figured out, we can take advantage of all these use cases. And so let's talk about NFT renting, for example, right? NFT renting, where is it today? There's this great quote from Nietzsche, says, God is dead, but if we figure out and collateralize lending on chain, we would be okay. Well, Nietzsche didn't say that actually, but there's a great quote actually by Yuval Noah Harari, who is controversial figure, albeit in the crypto community, but he said he made a great point about credit in his book *Sapiens*, where he said a host of new and wonderful opportunities open up if we can build things in the present using future income. This is something that's important to figure out in collateralized lending, so that we allow us to get to use this future income. And this is important also for NFTs, and this is why we need to figure out uncollateralized renting for NFTs to build, for example, a repo market. I don't know, maybe someday on chain. And so today there's a new standard. It's good. Double Protocol helped draft this new standard that's been accepted. It's called ERC 4907. And this new standard, the particularity of it is it's just an NFT, but it has two roles. An owner and a user, and so you have the owner, and the user you can change the user, and the owner controls so who the user is. You might say, okay, this is going to be problematic for the user, but if you put the NFT in the smart contract as the owner, then you can manage how much time the user has it. You can actually burn. You can actually stop the user from using it after like a certain time that they have the NFT to be used. And so how we do it at Jaypigs, because there are still problems, right? The problem is not solved. Most NFTs don't follow this standard. And so the way we do is Jaypigs, you bring your NFT, ERC 721, old NFT classic, right? And then we can wrap it in the new standard, ERC 4907. And through that new standard, you can lease it to gamers, and that allows us to have a global renting market for example, in-game assets, but someday, hopefully, it's going to be for houses or any other tokenized assets on chain. And this is something that's very important to figure out, and this is the way we are doing it at Jaypigs. And so let's talk about borrowing against NFTs too, right? So where it is today, a lot of people are not aware of the amount of adoption that happened in borrowing against NFTs. For example, NFT-fi, which is one of the biggest protocols for borrowing against NFTs, today had almost more than $100 million in loans, mostly against Bored Apes and CryptoPunks, but a few other collections too. It's interesting to see the amount of interest that there is in these protocols, and they're mostly done peer-to-peer at this point, not at the protocol level. There's Arcade XYZ too, OTC desk mainly for institutions, and they offer loans against NFTs, peer-to-peer, from maybe institution to institution or institution to individual, and they still don't have at least as far as I know, don't have a permissionless on-chain infrastructure, but they're working on it. And again, there are technical challenges. At least today there's a new standard, but before we didn't have. So this is borrowing against NFTs. We at Jaypigs believe, additionally to that, in cross-chain infrastructure. And I know you shouldn't say the C word in an Ethereum conference, not the real C word, but the cross-chain word. But hear me out. So there is a great case, I think, for cross-chain, especially for renting NFTs, right? Like, these games want to onboard collections that have the most engagements, the most volume that exists where on Ethereum Layer 1. These collections do not want to leave Ethereum Layer 1. We saw lately with Bored Ape, with the last vote and the Ape DAO, people refuse to leave Ethereum Layer 1. So how do you do that? If you want to allow, for example, certain holders of a certain NFT collection to come to your game. So you want some sort of cross-chain infrastructure, because most games are based on other blockchains or even layer 2s that offer more scalability, more transactions, more throughput. And so this is I think this is the biggest case for cross-chain. And yes, there are security trade-offs. I'll show you in the next slide how we do it in Jaypigs to reduce those security trade-offs. But it's, life is trade-offs, right? And then there's the second utility is aggregated liquidity, right? If you have these high volume NFT or there's valuable NFT on one chain, you don't want to sacrifice the security by bridging or whatever, but you want to keep it and get liquidity on the different chain directly, you can, the case for cross-chain there is very important. And so this is why in Jaypigs we are building on Axelar. Axelar is a relay chain for different blockchains. And it allows general message passing, and so it has this model of a home chain and satellite chains. You don't have to deploy multi-chain infrastructure, different instances on different blockchains. All you have to do is have a home chain that has state storage, some transaction routing, a lot of like the treasury aspects of it, and a registry to keep track of which NFT is wrapped with which other NFT, and then you have different satellite chains where you have the market, the renting, the minting of each NFT, and then fee collection, user interface, and users really interacting with any chain. And all of this is done in the background where the user doesn't really see much because there's this general message passing phenomenon. In addition to that, we are building on highly interoperable blockchains like Moonbeam with Polkadot, and which gives us access to this ecosystem. We're building Aurora, which is a layer 2 in Near, so it gives us access to the Near ecosystem. And this is very complicated infrastructure to handle from a product's point of view, but for a user point of view, it just gives them a much better experience altogether without doing 5-6 steps to bridge through different blockchains. So this is it. This is the state of the art today in the NFT-centered DeFi. Rentin has a new standard since June. Borrowing is growing in volume, but there's still the liquidation and pricing problem to tackle. And we think that cross-chain is essential, especially for the Rentin use case. Yeah, so I still have a few minutes. If you guys want to discover more about Jaypigs, you can go to our website or our Twitter or chat with me after this talk. And in the few minutes that are left, if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you.
Thank you for your talk. We've been working on those subjects and on those challenges. I just want to have your general vision on a particular issue. You mentioned cross-chain technology and also wrapping NFTs to allow for renting. How do you see it, the standardization problem, and maybe is it hard to integrate in other protocols or in other UIs and other applications? Do you think we need standardization? Do you think we need the developers of other platforms to make an effort? Or yeah, what is your approach?
I think we need to adapt, and I think standardization is coming, at least with the renting aspect, at least when we can wrap an NFT and convince other games to integrate this new standard as a user, and just like a new contract address, and when they have a registry that they can take from either manually or in some automatic way. I think that solves a lot of problems. Obviously, there needs to be more coordination. Today, everyone kind of like develops in their own little space. I'll be happy to talk to you later, maybe if we can, bring something up, some sort of alliance where games and renting infrastructure and all of this get together to have some sort of meaningful integration. But from our side, what we try to do is make it the easiest possible for games and other ecosystems to integrate. And if that is the case, they have little friction. Although, even most games today are early stage, so they're still to be decided. Yeah, I agree.
Thanks.
All good? Thanks a lot. Thank you.